we've already seen deep into the belly of the beast, so to speak, in that the Netflix outrage was performative. We knew that Dave Chappelle was, in my opinion, likely purposely poking the bear because the reaction was predictable and good press for him. Now, we've seen his documentary quietly get shunned by many film festivals, but I do believe he will find distribution for it. It's awfully easy. I mean, it's easy to point at Chappelle's relative resistance to cancel culture when you're talking about the biggest name in comedy, or one of the biggest names in comedy. Man with a following that would easily pay straight up money to watch it on his YouTube channel or his Instagram page. He has distribution options that he can take care of, that he could do. It isn't the same for everybody else, but people that like to gaslight and pretend that cancel culture doesn't exist, they'll always point to, you know, he still has money. He still is breathing. He's not canceled. Well, yes, that is true. And that's because that's not, you know, what these people want. The people that want to cancel people, they don't want you just to lose your job. No. They want your entire life to be ruined. That's what they want. We know this. I've gone through it. I've covered it extensively for the past 5 years. You've stayed here and watched it. Now we find what it's really about. Money. Netflix employees at the heart of the Dave Chappelle controversy filed charges against the company. B. Pagels Minor and Tara Field say the company retaliated against them for engaging in protected activity. Two employees at Netflix at the heart of the Chappelle controversy have filed labor charges against the company, alleging the streaming giant retaliated against them for engaging in, quote, protected activity. I can't wait for the GoFundMe. It's all so predictable, isn't it? It's all so predictable. It's just a grift for everybody. It's just, that's all it is. Tara Field really isn't upset. They knew what they were doing when they burst into a meeting where they weren't allowed or weren't invited to, and then pretended that, oh, I'm the victim of retaliation. Oh, no, that's not how it works in the real world. Like, I know a lot of these Silicon Valley companies, they allow their employees to be unruly. Look at how Spotify is and things like that. I suppose that's just part of it when you employ so many of these Gen Zers who have never been told no in their life. But this is ridiculous. Tara Field, a software engineer, was suspended after posting a viral tweet thread. No. The Verge. No. Oops. No. She was fired for forcing her way into a meeting that she wasn't invited to. Isn't it sick that, like, this is what it takes to stay up on the news. That's why I'm so glad. I know, by the way, I know this is part of my value proposition, value that I offer in this channel. I know that I'm not doing anything in particularly amazing, reading articles, okay? But what I try to do is I try to cut through the BS. For me to know what's going on in something, I have to read 20 articles. Because if I just read this Verge article, I would think, oh, she was fired for a tweet? Oh, that's not okay. Except that's just an outright lie. The Verge is just lying. This isn't a misquote. This isn't an accidental omission. This is a lie. And then the other individual who was fired, Pagels Minor, she was fired for leaking confidential information, a charge they have categorically denied. Well, yeah, because they got to get paid. The company said Field was suspended for attending a director-level meeting she wasn't supposed to, though it reinstated her after finding no ill intent. In the charge, Field says that she and hundreds of other Netflix employees were invited to attend the meeting. No, that wasn't the case. Now the employees are filing unfair labor practice charges with the National Labor Relations Board. They say Netflix actions were designed to stop workers from speaking out of their working conditions, including the desire to create a safe environment for Netflix staff. You mean by basically facilitating their walkout and supporting it? Was that the unsafe part? Or was the unsafe part where two of your producers raised hands to two other individuals who are on your property peacefully protesting? This charge is not about B and Tara. It's not about Dave. It's about trying to change the culture and having an impact for others, says attorney Lori Burgess, aka Ambulance Chaser. The charge is all about collective action, and it's about supporting your coworkers and speaking up for things you care about. Okay, lawyer. Okay, lawyer. Why do I feel like you're probably requesting a large sum of money? I'm assuming this lawyer must have taken this case for free. Filing with the NLRB support the goal of collective action. There's also an easier choice than filing in state court, as both Pagels Minor and Field signed Netflix employment agreements that require them to resolve disputes in arbitration. Get wrecked. A process that tends to favor the employer. This is common at large tech companies, though both Google and Activision and Blizzard have recently ended forced arbitration. That was a bad idea. The NLRB instigates, and you know why it's a bad idea? It's because you get employees like this, who don't even have legitimate reasons to be filing charges, but they do anyway. If it finds that these claims have merit, it can try to secure a settlement money. Or if it fails, issues a complaint. Fine, a formal complaint on your a black mark on your record. For employees, the best case scenario outside of settling, meaning getting money, is getting reinstated with back pay and forcing Netflix to post a notice that workers are allowed to engage in protected activity. That's not happening because Tara Field wasn't fired. The other person was, and my guess is Netflix pretty much had to have the receipts if they're going to fire somebody, in particular a strong independent woman of color, for this type of thing. I guarantee you they have the receipts. In a carefully worded statement, Netflix implied Pagels Minor was the source behind a Bloomberg story that contained internal metrics about how much Netflix paid for the closer. The narrative then spread to the media, though employees who spoke to The Verge said they didn't believe it was true. After Pagels Minor was fired, Bloomberg continued to publish stories containing internal metrics about Netflix shows. Yes, they couldn't possibly have held back some of the leak and spread it out. That's definitely not what the media does. We've only seen about 1 billion articles about that creep's laptop. B, who is 35 weeks pregnant and now about to lose her health insurance, amidst all the stress, I'm trying to take it one day at a time and focus on, wow, this is the same person that said, I don't want to be the face of this a week ago, suddenly wants to cash in. What a coinky-dink. Now, it's entirely possible, though I believe it to be incredibly improbable, that this particular person has a case. If they really didn't share the metrics, if they didn't, then they probably have a case. But my guess is Netflix doesn't go and fire a strong independent woman of color without all of the receipts. This other employee still works there as far as I know, unless they quit. They were reinstated. Maybe if I were 35 weeks pregnant and I needed my health insurance, I wouldn't be leaking things at my company. Now, maybe that might outrage some people and say, well, no, you should be able to stand up for yourself. Sure, I agree. But there are consequences, isn't there? Isn't there a consequence culture, as these people like to say? She has received a credible threat and has been doxxed. Prove it. This is what happens with trans people. We're tolerated as long as we're quiet, but if we speak up, we get harassed. That's such a baloney sausage narrative. Now, I don't agree with anybody sharing her personal information or sending any type of threats like that, but it's so easy to say you've got these things and then never provide any kind of, proof. The Trans Employee Resource Groups released a list of demands ahead of October 20th walkout. This is the world that these companies live in now. Okay, this may get a little spicy, but it's just the truth. If you're one of these big companies, you're held hostage constantly. Not to your entire employee field, but to 3 or 4 employees who then get a coalition and get all this kind of stuff and get all the press. All this does is, I believe, make companies less likely to hire trans individuals because you just have more and more cases like this. And how about this? A Netflix producer, Jacqueline Moore, one of the Netflix writers that complained about the Chappelle Show, doing a spicy cosplay of a character that is very young. Edited the pictures because nobody needs to see that. So we have Lo-Fi Girl, who I think, according to at least people tell me, is supposed to be 14 or something like that. So they do a little costume as that. Sure, that's fine, right? In this picture, they are raising their shirt and exposing themselves. And then there's another picture where they are full on going rear out, derriere to the sky. I'm not going to like clutch my pearls that hard about this, but it is a little concerning. I think it's odd that someone would look at, you know, like, oh, you know, it'd be stupid of me to pretend that there isn't like this kind of cosplay for like Misty from Pokemon or, you know, other characters out there. But you got to wonder where somebody's head's at, maybe, you know, why they're like, hey, I'm going to take this character and I'm going to make them gross. That's just, you know, something, you know, just another Netflix employee who's worried about Chappelle. So maybe they need to worry about them, you know, thinking, hey, this is a good idea for you to expose myself on Netflix, on Twitter, pretending to be a teen. But hey, that's just one man's opinion. I look forward to hearing your comments in the comment section down below. If you're new here, click that red subscribe button and we'll talk to you again real soon.